Our world is increasingly being understood as an emergent outcome of complex systems. Similarly, both analytical and generative tools for the definition of our spatial and architectural design systems have been well established with the last few decades. Although this design approach is extremely sensitive to existing models of self-organization in material, biological, and physical systems, our intention could not be further than the mere replication of nor matter, of course, nor nature. On the contrary, with the deployment of nonlinear computational design methodologies, this seminar seeks new singularities in the extended territory of digital production. Algorithmic design research, in our view, has the capacity to develop a deeper dialogue, right, in a variety of scales, from the material and microscopic to the emergent and macroscopic. This particular video, you probably recognize what the original footage behind our audition is. This is a short clip from the dream sequence in Blade Runner. And it's been treated with the exact same algorithm we were using for the freeze inside the hotel. We were just showing you in the project of Athens Lodge. Every single frame here is basically the artifact of a computation. That is to say, every single pixel is read and allowed to interact with its neighbors through a simple, let's say, cellular automata algorithm that we will see many examples of which together. But I'm going to start from a quote from Melanie Mitchell. If you guys don't know Melanie Mitchell, you can hit play. Melanie Mitchell has definitely popularized, let's say, theories of complexity for the large crowds. Does an excellent introduction into complexity, and I'm reading from it. The goals of creating artificial intelligence and artificial life can be traced back to the very beginnings of computer age. The earliest computer scientists, like Alan Turing, John von Neumann, Robert Wiener, and others, were motivated in large part by visions of imbuing computer programs with intelligence, with a lifelike ability to self-replicate, with the adaptive capacity to learn and to control their environments. Those early pioneers of computer science were as much interested in biology and psychology as they were in electronics, and they looked into natural systems as guiding metaphors for how to achieve their visions. It should be no surprise then that from the earliest days of computers, were not applied, let's say the earliest days of computers were not applied only to calculating missile trajectories and deciphering military codes, but also modeling the brain, mimicking human learning, and simulating biological evolution. These biologically motivated computing activities were waxed and waned over the years, since the early 1980s, they have all undergone a resurgence in the computation research community. The first was grown to the field of neural networks, the second into the field of machine learning, and the third into what is now called an evolutionary computation, of which genetic algorithms are the most prominent example. Mind you, also this text was written probably about like 10 years ago or something like that. And like even we've seen the resurgence, right, of like machine learning again back in our current contemporary condition. And while looking at a series of examples of L system and substitution systems, I'm going to be reading a quote from the father of fractals, Benoit Mandelbrot. He writes, "Why is geometry often described as cold and dry? One reason lies in its inability to describe the shape of a cloud, a mountain, a coastline, or a tree. Clouds are not spheres, mountains are not cones, coastlines are not circles, and bark is not smooth. Nor does lighting travel in a straight line. More generally, I claim that many patterns of nature are so irregular and fragmented that compared with Euclid nature, exhibits only a higher degree, not only a higher degree, but an altogether different level of complexity. The number of distinct scales of length of natural patterns is for all practical purposes infinite. The existence of those patterns challenges us to study those forms that Euclid leaves behind as being merely formless, and to investigate the morphology of the amorphous. Mathematicians have disdained this challenge, however, and are increasingly chosen to flee from nature by devising theories unrelated to anything that we see or feel.